Hey, Pete here for Studio Live today, and I'm really excited today because I have just launched my brand new EP. And what's different about this EP is that it was recorded entirely in GarageBand. So all the recording and mixing was done on my iPhone in GarageBand. And in order to celebrate, what I wanted to do today is go through the 10 biggest things I've learned, so 10 tips that I can give you if you're going to record a song or a EP or an album on your iPhone or your iPad. Here's the things that I've learned and some things to consider. So let's jump in with number 10. Undo is your friend. So with GarageBand on the iPhone, it's very easy to accidentally knock a track and to move it somewhere where you really don't want it to be. So this little button up here, the undo button, saved me countless times and hours of work. So if you do move something around and do something wrong, just grab your undo and get it fixed up. Number 9, there is no easy way to de-ess a vocal. So when you're recording, one of the most important things is to get your vocals right at the source. So make sure that when you're recording, you're keeping your syllables down, that you're using a pop filter, and that you're not singing too close or directly into a microphone, because you can use all sorts of fancy compression and things, which I've tried to do on my EP. But yeah, getting it right the very first time when you're recording on the microphone is going to be the easiest way to keep your vocals sounding clean and keep those pops and S sounds from making your mix sound a bit crazy. Number 8, again related to vocals, which is breathing. So you can remove breaths, and I'll show you in this track here how I did it, and you'll quickly see. So if I jump into this track here and go to our vocal, which is our lead vocal, then I've used some volume automation here, but take a look at how much work there was in this. There you go. So that's the volume automation that I put into this track, and it took a long time to do that. So that was me dropping the volume and bringing it back up after every breath that you could audibly hear. And again, if I just stepped back from the mic a bit and made sure that I wasn't breathing into the mic as much, then definitely would have sounded a lot better from the outset. Number 7, we have no mix bus or sends or ability to push audio to another track here in GarageBand. So it's just super important that you get this audio right going in, and that because any EQing you do, any effects, any reverb is going directly on that track. What it does mean is that if you're using the same tracks to record the same sort of things, duplicating the tracks is a really good idea. So an example here is if I've got this guitar sound, we'll just turn the automation off again. If I've got this guitar sound here, then I can duplicate the track, and what carries across with this track is all of my panning, my EQ settings, everything that I've done. So that's a quick and easy way to make sure that if you are using some effects and some EQ, and you're then going to record, say, a double of a vocal or a double of a guitar, then that's an easy way to actually get that done. Number 6, give yourself 1 or 2 bars of lead-in time, and this is something that I learnt from because I didn't do it on this very track here. So as you can see here, this has got guitars that come in at the very start of the track, and unfortunately, well, there's that undo button needed again, because I just slid that across. Unfortunately, the track sort of starts with a strum, and because I didn't have that lead in, the recording didn't actually kick in. So I had my four counts, 1 bar of count in, but then the recording started, so it kind of cut off the very first strum of the guitar. So a tip there, and I did it on all the other tracks except for this one for some reason, a tip there is to make sure that you give yourself 1 or 2 tracks at the start. If you don't know what that means, let me just jump into a track where I did it right. So there we go. So you can see there that there's a little bit of space there right at the start, and the actual song starts at bar number 2. So that just gives you that lead in, so that if there's an instrument that just starts, or a vocal that just starts just before that first count, that it's going to sound natural and not going to sound weird and chopped off. Okay, number 5 is that presets can be good, but don't be afraid to record clean. So what do I mean by that? Well, when you go in and you create a new track here in iTunes, in GarageBand, let's go back into our track here. So if I wanted to come down here and create a new track, and let's say I want to do an instrument here, or I want to do my voice. So let's do voice. If I go into voice, what it's going to do is going to instantly give me all of these lead vocal. So it's got all of these different options here, and all of them have a lot of effects and EQ and other things going on, which can sound really good, but sometimes I actually just want to get a nice sound and then add my own EQ, my own reverb, and my own other effects. So funnily enough, it's under fun now, and clean. So that's the way to actually set a recording, whether it's a guitar or a vocal or any other instrument that you're recording through an analog source. That's the way to get a clean signal into GarageBand, so that you can then actually change the effects. And you can also, so you don't have to record it 100% clean, you can come in and start adding your effects before you record, so that if you like recording, say, your vocals with a little bit of reverb or something like that, then you can actually add that in there right from the start, and you can even do your visual EQ and that sort of thing from the outset. So that's an option there. But yeah, don't just use the presets. They can be really super cool, so try them out. But if you do find that you're not getting the sound you want, then you can go back to setting your own effects on your own track. Number 4 is about velocity. So what do I mean by velocity? Well, if you're using a virtual instrument, it's particularly a keyboard or something like that. So again, we'll just jump back to here and we'll find a keyboard track. Get rid of all of that. So if we come back up here to my piano, so you can see there that my piano track has been recorded. Okay, so here's my piano track that's been recorded, and you can see that it's not exactly on the grid. I haven't quantized this because this particular track I wanted to have more of a natural sort of feel, but I recorded this track with a MIDI controller. So instead of using the actual touch screen on the phone, I actually plugged in a USB MIDI keyboard. And the reason that I recommend that, if you can get one, and you can pick them up pretty cheaply for about $50 for just a 49 key or even a smaller size. The reason I recommend it is trying to get the velocity right when you're playing on the touch screen, even if you're just playing a lead track that's only one note at a time, can be really tricky. So and coming into edit velocity afterwards is no fun. So if I wanted to, say, come in here and start editing how hard these were hit, then I have to select velocity, and for each individual note, I have to change it. So it's not a big deal for like 1 or 2 notes, but you can imagine if you are editing a piano track for an entire song, it's going to be a bit of a pain. So again, comes back to the old golden rule of get it right at the source. If you can record it clean with the right velocity and the right sort of feel, then it's going to be an awful lot easier come edit time. So number 3 is, and we're getting into the top 3 now. So number 3 is EQ. So the EQ settings that we have here in GarageBand are a lot better now, but they are still not great. So if we jump in here and we'll go into this vocal track and we'll go to the effects and our plugins and EQ, you can see here that I can actually create an EQ curve, but the options we have here, we've only got 3 bands, you can't expand on that, and it's not really a low cut or a high cut that you can actually do here, that's or a high pass filter, and that's especially challenging for some recordings. If you do have some boominess or some bottom end, you can see here it's not technically just cutting it off when you adjust the bass. So you can push the bass right down, which I have for this vocal track and for some of the other tracks, such as the guitar track, but it's not going to completely solve your problems, and it's also going to bring down some of those low mids, same at the high end and even in the mid range. So you've got more control than you've had before than just a standard tone knob, which is bass treble, but it's not a perfect situation. If you're used to recording in a DAW, in a digital audio workstation, then this is going to be something different that you'll have to get used to, and it's going to require a bit of tweaking. But the good news is that we do have EQ. You can do it track by track, and you can actually get a decent sound. Which leads me to number 2, which is beware the bass. So when I actually got to the end of recording my tracks, and I'd been actually recording and mixing on earbuds, so I had my headphones plugged in and I was doing my mixing right here in GarageBand. What I found was that I had a massive bass build up. So when I exported the files and dragged them into Reaper, which is the the digital audio workstation I use on my PC, then I just had a massive bass build up, and as soon as I plugged in some decent headphones and listened through my monitor speakers, then the bass was really just completely overloaded. So if we jump in here, I'll show you why that's the case. So things like the drums, which is obviously going to provide quite a bit of bass, in the end, what I've had to do is actually come in here and turn down some of those bass and mid-range here in the EQ, and that did definitely help it out. But and then if we look in the bass as well, we come out of here and I find my bass. Oh, bonus tip, put your tracks in the same order. I didn't in this project, so I've got vocals, guitars, bass, drums all over the place. Probably would have been a good idea to actually put that nice template in there. So if we go into the bass here, we'll see the same things. If we go to the effects there, plugins and EQ, visual EQ. So unlike what you might do if you're mixing bass yourself, you might find a nice sort of low frequency to pull out and to really enhance the bass. What I found I had to do here was to actually reduce it. And one of the main reasons for that with the bass and the drums is that they already kind of have their own built-in sound and EQ from the virtual instrument that you're using. So when you're using virtual drums, they've already are quite bass heavy. So be conscious of that. And same with the bass, especially if you're using the amp simulators that come within GarageBand, they're going to be quite bassy already, depending on the adjustments and the settings that you use there. So beware the bass. Like I said, I learnt the hard way because I had to go back in and tweak the EQ of all of my low-end instruments. So beware of that and make sure that you've got a nice balance in your mix. And the number one tip I have for recording any project or song or EP or album on the iPhone or iPad in GarageBand is to have plenty of space on your phone to record, and version control is super important. So make sure that you're saving and having different versions. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we come out of here, you'll notice here that these are all called Mix 6, Mix 6, Mix 6, Mix 7. So this is the 6th and 7th versions of these tracks that I actually have. And what I've done as I go along is when I reach a critical point of the song where I think, well, yeah, I want to make sure that if I make some changes here, that I can actually go back. And to do that, just hold down on this and press the plus sign here. It will duplicate the song. You'll get one of these like that, and then all you need to do is tap on it to rename it eventually. And there you go. So then if I wanted to make this mix number 7, and there we go, hit done. So now I've actually got 2 separate mixes right here on my phone, and it means that I can then keep working on mix 7, and if I do something horrendously bad, which I did on more than a couple of occasions, then it's really easy. All I need to do is go back to the previous version and restore that, and we're good to go. So I hope you got some interesting insights from this video and some tips for the next project that you're going to do on your phone. And a lot of these tips are universal across not only your iPhone or your iPad, but recording in general. And hopefully you can avoid some of those traps that I fell into when I was recording this. Thanks again for watching. Please check out down below the description. We'll have links to the EP, so if you're keen to have a listen. And over the next month, I will be deconstructing the 4 tracks on the EP as well right here, so I can show you exactly how I created the sounds, how I recorded, how I mixed, and how I eventually released this EP. So this is Pete for Studio Live today. Have a great day.